Republicans finally releasing full details on their $1 trillion HEALS Act stimulus bill. But that was the easy part. Now it's time to make a deal with Democrats who already oppose many key provisions. And well, they're $2 trillion apart also, the two sides. Are they going to be able to find the middle, and where could that be? I want to get some insight from Pennsylvania Republican Congressman Reschenthaler. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. I think you just came out of a hearing. The negotiations, I would suspect, are off to a fast start. Give us an update on where we are right now.
Charles, first, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Where we are now in negotiations is that the Republican package is $1 trillion. The Democrats are using this as a chance to push through a radical far-left agenda and a huge spending bill. So their plan is just under $4 trillion. But at the end of the day, Charles, what we have to focus on is two pillars. One is health. So we need to have money for hospitals. We need to have money for Operation Warp Speed to get a vaccine. So we got to focus on health. But we also have to focus on the economy. We've got to make sure these businesses can reopen fully, that people can go back to work. And a part of that is safely reopening our schools, because if the schools aren't reopened, parents are not going to be able to fully go back to work. That's a problem too. So we need to focus on the economy and health. Anything beyond that, Charles, that's a waste. That is the Democrats capitalizing on this pandemic to push through a radical far-left agenda, and also a chance for them to spend more money than is necessary to get us through this crisis.
Well, I think some famous Democrat strategist said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And this has been the best crisis in 100 years. You said $4 trillion. Was that a miss? I haven't heard $4 trillion for the Democrats. I've heard $3 trillion, but you're saying it's now $4 trillion?
Well, it's just shy of $4 trillion because, Charles, what's happening, and you see this with education spending, the Democrats say a number, the Republicans come out and give them that number, and then the Democrats come back and say they want even more money. So the Democrat number keeps edging its way up. So, for example, with education, they wanted $100 billion. I believe we, in our package, said $105 billion, and the Democrats came back and said they wanted $300 or $400 billion. I forget the exact number, but you get the idea. They're making these huge jumps and moving their targets, which is the spending now is going out of control with the Democrat plan.
You know, moments ago, we got the consumer confidence read for July, and there's two parts to it. There's present conditions, how we feel right now. That number actually improved really good from June to July. But the overall report plunged because expectations plunged. I mean, people are losing confidence fast about where this recovery is going to be in 6 months. So that's a worrisome issue when the expectations drops like this, because you and I both know part of any successful economy is that people have to buy in. They have to believe it's going to happen. And I think that's one of the reasons we've been so successful. Is there any sense of urgency in the room between both parties that we've got to get this going, or is this just the ultimate game of chicken? Who blinks first?
Well, Charles, consumer confidence is incredibly important. What I want to see is I want to make sure that we're not spending more than necessary, because what that does is it kills our future growth. If we have this debt and these deficits, it's really just a disguised tax on future generations. So that's something we need to avoid. Now, to the question about, is this just a game of chicken? Who blinks first? At the end of the day, Nancy Pelosi is drawing these red lines. And when she draws those red lines, it's the far-left Democrats using the American citizens as pawns to advance their far-left radical agenda. And that's really what's so sad here. We can come to a reasonable agreement, but Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are drawing these red lines and really capitalizing on this crisis. It's very sad to see.
Congressman, I got the wrap signal, but I got to squeeze in something. If you could just give me an answer. The $600 compromise, I think it's going to be $300 or $400. Is it too early for you to reveal what that could be?
No, Charles, we're thinking the same lines. The Republicans are at 200, the Democrats are at 6. We'll probably split that and be somewhere in the middle.
Okay. Thank you very much. We know you're busy. We always appreciate your time, Congressman. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Take care.